What's up, everybody? This is Derek J407 here to give you my thoughts on WWE Backlash 2018 live from the Prudential Center in New York, New Jersey. I'll make it plain and simple. This show sucked. Aside from the opening match between The Miz and Seth Rollins, this was a terrible pay-per-view. I hate to be negative. I hate to be, just bashing WWE, but I can't look at this show as anything other than terrible. It's not even like, well, it was kind of so-so, it was a little dull here and there. No, this show sucked. Those two main events were awful. This entire show was just a complete embarrassment. If you like this show, you better just click off of this video right now, because you ain't gonna like it. And a word of advice, you probably won't want to watch any other reviews of this show, because I doubt you'll find one that's very positive. Because from what I saw on my timeline on Twitter, not a lot of people like this show. And if you just look in the crowd, not a lot of people there will like the show, seeing as how when they cut to a wide shot of the crowd following the main event, you could see people getting up in droves to leave the arena. I have never seen that before. They pan to the crowd, and the shot they have is of the people getting up to leave. This might have been the first time I've ever seen that happen, so they made history in that regard. Just the booking decisions, the matches themselves, just a lot of very questionable things on this show that just were not good. This did not need to be a pay-per-view. Honestly, you could have just had the greatest Royal Rumble and then just go straight into Money in the Bank and just leave it at that and just ignore this show. I knew going into the show that it was going to be pretty pointless, but I looked at the card and I looked at matches like Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton, Seth Rollins and The Miz, and thought to myself, with those four matches, it's highly unlikely this can be anything but a bad show. If those four matches deliver, which they all should, this could be a good show. Boy, was I wrong, because all but one of those matches sucked. Well, Hardy Orton didn't exactly suck, but it didn't live up to standards that I held it to. AJ Nakamura didn't suck. The finish did. That finish sure did suck, but let's just go to this show. I really don't want to, but let's just go to this show, and instead of me just blindly saying, hey, this show sucked, let me explain to you why it did. So let's start off with a kickoff show. Before we do that, it was revealed on Twitter. I would like to credit who it originated from, but I'm not 100% sure who where the source is. Actually, I changed my mind. It was nodq.com, I believe, on their Twitter. I think they were the ones who posted a leaked script, the leaked rundown sheet for the show. So the matches in the order that they took place. And on the sheet, it showed that Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe were going to be the main event. And as the show went on, the show was going on in the order of the matches listed. And then sure enough, Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns got that main event spot. The sheet also revealed a lot of the producers for the matches, like Tyson Kidd and Jamie Noble, Dean Malenko, Devon, I think, was a producer for a match. So that was very interesting to see. I haven't seen a rundown sheet with the producers' names next to them in a while, so I thought that was pretty cool. Well, not cool. I mean, it was interesting to see, but it was leaked online. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So I knew the order of the matches on the show, so I thought that was kind of cool. So the kickoff show was Ruby Riott of the Riott Squad taking on Bayley. Of course, Ruby won. Sasha was not in Bayley's corner, just like Bayley was not in Sasha's corner when Sasha lost to Ruby Riott on Raw last week. So I assume this is leading to Sasha and Bayley putting aside their differences and teaming up to take on the Riott Squad. Maybe add one other person to their team, maybe Ember Moon or something like that, and probably get like a 6-woman tag team match or something like that. I don't know. I assume a combination of these women will be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. But, yeah, so that's that's that. But let's get on to the main show with the main event that started off the show. I called the main event because it was the best match of the entire night. That being The Miz challenging Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental Championship. A great way to open this show. And unfortunately was the only match I could rate above good on the show. This was an excellent match. Coming off of just days earlier on Raw, Seth Rollins having a great match with Finn Balor, and then before that, the great ladder match at the Greatest Royal Rumble, the triple threat at WrestleMania. So Rollins has been on a roll the last few weeks, in fact, last few months, in fact. And he and Miz, I figured they would go out here, open the show, and have a great match, and that's exactly what they did. At one point in the match, Seth Rollins hit a fantastic, picture-perfect frog splash. Got some real height on it, and there was some distance between himself and the Miz, so I thought that was really good. One of the big spots of the match was so Miz. I mean, Miz was pretty much dominant early on, but then Rollins got back into it. But then the two kind of went back and forth, and they were on the outside. They're on the ring apron, and Seth went for his Revolution knee, but when he went for it, Miz ducked out of the way, and then Seth kneed the ring post, the steel LED post or whatever. So that was pretty brutal. You know, Seth's history with his knee, so that was obviously a pretty brutal spot, which led to a figure four spot for Miz, which was really dramatic when Seth reversed the pressure on it, and then eventually Miz reversed it back, and then Rollins went over to the rope. So I thought that was really cool. Eventually Miz hit the skull crushing finale, but only good for a 2 count. Two fought back and forth a little bit more, and Seth got Miz up on the top rope. He was going for the suplex Falcon Arrow combo. Miz knocked him off, but then Rollins got back up, hit the superplex, and then right as Rollins was going up for the Falcon Arrow, Miz kind of slipped out of it, hit him in the knee, and hit him with the skull crushing finale, which almost got me. It almost got me. As you know, Miz is on SmackDown, and it just doesn't make sense for him to be the champion anymore, but they almost got me with that spot, with that skull crushing finale spot. Of course, it was only good for a 2 count, but it was great stuff. And then afterwards, they started to go in this whole counter of roll-ups and reversals and all that kind of stuff, which led to Seth getting Miz in a position to where he hit him with the curb stomp, got the 1, 2, 3, and Seth Rollins retains the Intercontinental Championship. The fans were chanting, "This is awesome," standing ovation for both guys. Of course, they went apeshit for Seth Rollins. The fans have been going crazy for Seth Rollins for the last few months now. He's the biggest babyface on Raw, probably even in the entire company, I'd say. And this match proved it. And by the end of the night, if you didn't believe Seth is the top guy, is the man in this company, then I don't know what will. I honestly don't know how you can watch this match and then go on and watch the rest of this show and think that Seth Rollins isn't the man. Miz, I'll give him his props too. Miz is great. But Seth is clearly a star right now, and he should be the main focus and not other people. But great match, and unfortunately it was all downhill from there. Up next we had Nia Jax take on Alexa Bliss, Raw Women's Championship on the line. Basically was the same as their match at WrestleMania. Nia dominated. Alexa, took advantage, cheated to win. It was one dangerous spot though where Nia was on the top rope, and she was, well, not the top rope, like on the middle rope, but she was going for like a bonsai drop or something like that, on Alexa, but then Alexa kind of like pushed her over, and Nia like went over the turnbuckle and dove on outside the ring there, which it looked pretty brutal. It was a pretty brutal looking spot, but in the end, Alexa Bliss went for a twisted bliss, but Nia caught her and hit her with a Samoan drop and got the win. After the match, she cut this whole anti-bullying promo and talking about how, you can't let the bullies win, and you gotta embrace who you are and be who you are and all that kind of shit. Just a very cookie cutter babyface, anti-bullying, stand up for yourself, be be a star, basically. And even the commentators mentioned that, the be a star stuff, which we haven't really heard about on TV as much, but that was the message of this feud. Be a star, show tolerance and respect, all that shit. So yeah, not a great promo, nor was it a great match, but there's so much else to get mad about this show. That's not even the bit of it. Up next, Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton for the U.S. title, 10 years after their first major pay-per-view match for a championship in WWE. That was at the Royal Rumble in 2008, at a time when Jeff Hardy was one of the hottest stars in the entire company, and it looked like he was poised to win that title, but then Randy just hit him with an RKO out of nowhere and beat him straight up, 1, 2, 3, in like 7-8 minutes. I was there live, and the crowd just was deflated after that match. And yeah, it was pretty bad then. But Jeff went on to become an even bigger star. But the two never really had another match since then. So then we had this match here, and the match was good. It was good. I mean, nothing really great. The fans weren't into it for a little bit. They were starting Rusev Day chants, which I thought were a little unnecessary. Chants like that, I think, show the fans frustration with a boring match, or a match that they're just not clicking with, not connecting with. And I didn't really look at this match as being able to qualify as being that, but it really wasn't all that good. But the finish came. Randy was setting up for an RKO. Jeff slipped out of it, hit Randy with the Twist of Fate, went up for the Swanton Bomb, and got the clean victory over Randy Orton. So a clean victory for Jeff. I mean, I assume the feud's over here, unless Randy turns heel or something like that. I assume this is the end of the feud. But yeah, Jeff retains. There was no reason for him to lose, so that's good. Up to this point, it became pretty predictable, these match finishes. But predictable isn't always bad, as long as it makes sense, and it made sense here. So Jeff retains, and I don't know where they go from here, but Jeff's the champion. Then up next, like the rundown sheet said, an Elias segment. Elias was out there. The fans were red hot for him. All the catchphrases. When Elias was threatening to leave, he put his foot out to leave and then put his foot back to stay. The fans were cheering and booing and all that kind of stuff. So they were really into it. Eventually, the New Day interrupted. They came out with their marching band instruments. Of course, Xavier Woods with the trombone, Francesca 2 or Turbo, whatever the fuck it's called. Big E had, the drum, and Kofi had some cymbals and all that kind of stuff. So it was whatever. They were playing, and then eventually Rusev and Aiden English, they interrupted. Fans were, of course, into Rusev Day. Then eventually No Way Jose came out and all this stuff. Elias just tried to do his concert, kept getting interrupted. And then eventually Bobby Roode came out of nowhere, let him out with the glorious DDT. And that was a segment. It ended with everyone in the conga line. Included in that conga line were Titus Worldwide and Breezango. Bobby Roode twerked. Bobby Roode's role on this pay-per-view was twerking. God, he needs to turn heel immediately for that alone. But yeah, that was that. Up next, we had Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan, a match not a lot of people cared about, me included. But it was what it was. Cass cut a really good promo on SmackDown a few weeks ago, explaining why he attacked Daniel Bryan. So that was good, but the feud itself, I'm just not a fan of it. Hoping it somehow leads to Cass aligning himself with The Miz and being his bodyguard for a feud with Daniel Bryan. But it looks like it's just going to be Cass and Bryan by themselves for a while. So the match had "We Want Enzo" chants during it, at least the early part of it. They weren't too loud, but you could hear them very clearly. So they wanted Enzo. The commentators, especially Corey Graves, were telling this whole story of Cass being too overly confident over Daniel Bryan, and just kind of beating them around and all that kind of stuff. Really pushing the whole thing. Like, Kaz is in there with a former world champion, not a legend, but a veteran in the ring, all that kind of stuff. And he's taking him lightly, taking him for granted, and all that kind of stuff. Kaz was hitting a bunch of clotheslines and scoop slams and all that kind of stuff. Just beating him around. Bryan, was throwing kicks and all that kind of stuff, trying to stick in there, but Kaz pretty much had control over him, but he was a little too cocky, a little too arrogant, and it cost him in the end, because when he was setting up for a big boot, he went to deliver it, and Bryan ducked out of the way, had a bitch of a time locking him in the yes lock, but eventually got him down, got him in the yes lock, and rather quickly, Kaz tapped out. And that kind of shocked me. I felt that, with this feud, the goal was to get Kaz over as a bigger star and use Daniel Bryan to get him to that spot. And I figured, well, Daniel Bryan doesn't really need to win this match. Kaz probably needs it a lot more than Bryan does. So it'd probably be beneficial for him to win. But that is not what happened here. Kaz tapped out. And see, not even that I thought Kaz would win, but even if Bryan won, I thought it would be like a roll-up or something like that. He made Kaz tap out, so that was a pretty definitive win. But that was not over, because after the match, Kaz attacked Daniel Bryan, laid him out, threw him all around the outside, and then got him back in the ring and gave him a sick big boot right to the face. And that was it for Bryan. Up to this point, I think even after this, they announced on the post-show, their guests would be The Miz and Daniel Bryan. Separately, of course, but you would think that there'd be some kind of interaction between the two of them. But then right before the main event, they said that due to Daniel Bryan's injuries, he'd be replaced by Elias. And as I'm recording this, the post-show, just ended, so I don't know what happened. But that was a bummer. But this match was a match, not really all that special. Bryan won, to my shock, but Kaz gets the best of him in the end. But this feud's gonna continue, so it is what it is. Up next, Carmella versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Can you just hear the lack of enthusiasm in my voice? I'm just now hearing it, because this show sucked. I want to talk about it, I don't want to just say this show sucked. I want to explain why it did, and matches like this, where it's like they just happen. There's no real excitement to them. There's stories being told, but the stories aren't good. It's that simple. And it's just my opinion. I'm sure there are people out there, a very small minority of people, but people nonetheless who liked every match on this show and thought this was one of the best pay-per-views of all time. But I could not be farther from thinking that. Anyway, up next, Carmella defending the women's title against Charlotte. Of the two women's matches, this is probably the one I liked the least. Neither one I'd call good. Okay at best, but this one I liked the least of the two of them. Carmella is great on the microphone. She has a great character and all that kind of stuff, but in-ring wise, she's not quite there yet. And Charlotte, she tried to make Carmella look good, but nah, it was what it was. I'll just go ahead and skip to the finish. Charlotte went for a moonsault, landed on her feet, but I think it was her left knee or her left leg or whatever, it buckled, and then Carmella went over and rolled her up. And Charlotte being as flexible as she is, Carmella was able to get her legs all the way over her head pretty much, got the roll-up win, and that was it. A very anticlimactic finish to this match, but Carmella wins. I figured it'd be interference from Billie Kay and Peyton Royce that would cost Charlotte the match, but that was not the case. Carmella won on her own and just capitalized on a mistake from Charlotte, so not exactly a clean win, but not too dirty either. It was just a win. But it was that. But this anticlimactic finish was nothing compared to the one Up next, oh my god, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a no disqualification match for the WWE Championship. People were very upset that this match was happening now and wasn't the main event, wasn't going on last. Like, well, how can you do this co-branded show and your one world title on the entire show is not the main event, is not going on last? How can that happen? Once the finish of this match came, people were like, oh, that's why. Other people were still upset, but people were like, oh, that's why it didn't main event. Yeah, the finish of this match sucked. The match itself, man, this was less like their Greatest Royal Rumble match and more like their WrestleMania match in terms of just being completely disappointing. I don't know what the hell is wrong with these guys, but they're just not clicking in WWE. The match of the Greatest Royal Rumble was really good. I really enjoyed that match. That was a really good match. The match at WrestleMania, I liked it more than other people, but I acknowledge that was not a great match. This match was probably even worse than their WrestleMania match. This was a no disqualification match. I'm not even getting to the finish yet. This was a no disqualification match. And it took for fucking ever for that to even come into place. Like, did they just forget? Like, the first few minutes of the match, like, yeah, they were fighting around ringside and all that kind of stuff. And, doing a few things that aren't exactly legal in regular matches. But it was just a regular match for, like, the first 10 minutes or so. This match went on for a while, and for like 80% of it, it felt like they were just having a regular match. Until finally Nakamura brought in a steel chair, which was like the only weapon used in the entire match. So he brought in a steel chair, went to use it on AJ, but AJ got it away, and they started to fight a little bit. Eventually Nakamura had AJ back down. He was setting up for a Kinshasa when AJ caught him like mid-Kinshasa pretty much, and like launched the chair at Nakamura's leg. But when in doing so, Nakamura was still coming full speed, and the chair bounced off of Nakamura and ricocheted off of him and connected with AJ right in his cheek, busted him wide open. So the blood did add something. And once the blood came out and the chair was introduced, the match started to pick up a lot more. So they started to fight back and forth a little bit more. The calf crusher and triangle choke and all that kind of stuff. So eventually they're fighting, and AJ goes for the Styles Clash. And right when he's about to get Nakamura up, Nakamura gets out and hits AJ with a low blow, like the 8th low blow he's hit AJ with. And then AJ got himself into a position where he hit Nakamura with a low blow, just the arm low blows. So both men are down. Eventually they get back up, start fighting some more, and then they both back up, and then they both have the idea of kicking each other in the nuts. So they haul back and they kick each other right downstairs, and they both go down. Now, it's very understandable that two men would not immediately get up from that. That does not excuse this finish, because both men were down, and the referee counted them both out. Both men, neither could get back up, so the referee counted up to 10. That was it. Said the match was basically no contest, and awarded the championship back to AJ. Now, I know it's just no disqualification. There's no such thing as no countouts and nothing like that. And it's not like we haven't seen something like this before. There was a match a few years ago between John Cena and Curtis Axel. And that sounds ridiculous now, but that was back when Curtis Axel was first getting a push. There was a match between the two of them, and it ended with Curtis Axel beating John Cena by countout in a no disqualification match. And that was like one of the first times we saw that, and it's like, what the hell? That's so stupid. So it's happened before. But it's still awful. Just last week, they were in a match at the Greatest Royal Rumble that ended with a double countout, and you do it the exact same thing again. You do it again. How do you have two pay-per-views straight where your world championship match ends in a no contest? Two straight world championship matches between AJ and Nakamura, both ending in a no contest. This happened with Undertaker and Batista back in 2007, and I hated it then, just like I hate it now. It's so dumb. It's very, very dumb. And like I said, the match, it was picking up for like the last 5 minutes, and that finish came and it just sucked the life out of this show. The fans turned on this show from then on. Nothing could follow this for the worst. It was just so bad. It was so very bad. I'm trying to stay into this feud. I like heel Nakamura. I like, his new theme music and all that kind of stuff. I like heel Nakamura. He's very interesting. In fact, he's a lot more entertaining than babyface Nakamura was. At least main roster Nakamura. NXT Nakamura was a very entertaining motherfucker, but main roster Nakamura, not so much. And once he turned heel, I started to enjoy it. And I was hoping we'd at least get a finish in this match. We didn't even get that. So I guess it'll continue and we'll get AJ Nakamura 4 at Money in the Bank, probably with a last man standing or I quit or falls count anywhere or some shit like that kind of stipulation. I don't even know. I would say ladder match, but there's going to be 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches on that show anyway, so that would be overkill. Which is not, it hasn't stopped WWE before. They've had Hell in a Cell pay-per-views with 3 Hell in a Cell matches, so. But no, I get that you want to prolong this feud. I don't understand why you couldn't just had Nakamura win the title here and go, but I guess that's just not their plan. They don't want Nakamura to win the belt. I don't know. There had to have been a different way to prolong this feud. And if Nakamura just wins the belt at Money in the Bank in 6 weeks, and then they have another match after that, since they just a rematch, if they have another match after that, then it's like, why didn't Nakamura just win the belt here? Why did you have to have this terrible finish to a no disqualification match? That, plain and simply, shouldn't have been a no DQ match at all. Not even just for the finish, but the fact that it took them like 12 minutes just to even have a no DQ match. Why even be a no DQ match in the first place? So, I was just not a fan of this at all. Up next was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. This is a match we saw on TV weeks prior, and it was just a regular tag team match that the babyfaces won. So for some reason they put it on pay-per-view. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were turning on each other. Sami tried to leave, but Kevin Owens wanted to stay and fight. They threw each other in the ring with Braun and Bobby. Like, Sami threw Kevin in there, and eventually Kevin threw Sami in there. They started to argue. Eventually Sami slapped Kevin in the face. And then Kevin, he got up in Sami's face. Sami left the ring, and then Kevin was by himself. Bobby Lashley picked him up for the vertical suplex, hang him up there for a little while, and then hit him with it, and then got the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Braun Strowman laid out Kevin Owens with a power slam, and then eventually chased after Sami Zayn, got him in the ring, and hit him with a power slam. The crowd, who are usually very into Braun Strowman, couldn't care less. And neither could I. This match was happening at like 10:57 or some shit like that, and you just knew the pay-per-view was going to overtime when it really didn't need to. You could have cut out that stupid concert segment or whatever, but they just had Nia Jax, the babyface, talk about be a star earlier in the show, and then you have your 2 babyfaces in this match. Basically your 3rd and 4th or 2nd and 3rd or however spot you want to put them in on Raw. 2 of your top babyfaces on your show bully Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They lost the match, and then they beat them up afterwards anyway. We've seen Braun do this before, but and maybe I shouldn't complain, because we've seen Braun do this before, but I don't know, just on this show, and the crowd didn't even react to it all that much. I hated this show. The main event, Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns. No title on the line, nothing on the line, no stipulation, but it was the main event anyway. It started off hot. Samoa Joe was waiting on Roman to get in the ring, and once he did, beat him down, gave him a Uranagi through the announce table, threw him over the other 2 announce tables. So it started off hot, beat Roman down before the match even started, before the bell even rang. And I was thinking, okay, that's a hot way to start this match, and it's needed because Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe have had a history of really good to great matches on Raw in the past. So they're the only guys who can save this show. I have faith in them. They have great chemistry together. They know each other, and they can have a really good match on this show. Nope. Some people will point to this being great in-ring psychology with the constant rest holds and shit like that. I say no. It was pretty damn boring. You can have rest holds in a match and make it entertaining, but when it's just the same rest hold for like 5 or so minutes straight, and it's in the main event of a pay-per-view that's going like 10, 15, 20 minutes overtime, and it's the main event of a show that has sucked up to this point, a rest hold is not what you want to be looking at right now. But there it was. The fans started to chant CM Punk, Rusev Day, delete, this is boring, other shit. Of course, people might not be... If you don't like that, shut up. I don't care. Because, like I said, when chants like that happen, that's because people are just not interested, and they have every right to reject a match. I mean, yeah, you got two guys out there working hard, doing what they gotta do, busting their ass or whatever, but the fans aren't into it, Should I go to a movie, and if I don't like what I'm seeing in the movie, I reject it, I resent it, so here it is. This match was a movie, and it was not good. Roman did hit a spear, but Joe got his foot on the rope. Joe locked Roman in a coquina clutch, but Roman eventually got out of it. We clearly saw him fade out and go to sleep, but the referee, for whatever reason, didn't call the bell. The ref made the mistake of counting Kevin Owens' shoulders to the mat in the previous match, even though Sami Zayn was supposed to be the legal man. You had a referee count both men out of a no disqualification match, and this all coming after a week where at the previous show, the Greatest Royal Rumble, the referee made a mistake and counted the wrong person the winner of the cage match when one guy clearly had his feet hit the floor first, but he awarded the match and the victory to the other person. So, not a good time for the referees. But eventually, Joe attempted to hit the muscle buster. Roman slipped out of it, flipped over, ran back, hit him with a spear. Match was over. They cut to a wide shot of the crowd, and you could clearly see a lot of people, not even just a few, a lot of people getting up and immediately leaving. In fact, people were leaving before this match even started. The WWE, they lowered the crowd audio when Roman came out because, of course, gotta hide the boos. I'm well beyond the point of talking about how Roman is just not the right person for the top spot. It's not even that he's not the right person. They have the right person in someone like Seth Rollins, and they just won't do anything. Roman's gonna get a match with Brock, probably at Money in the Bank, and he'll probably win the belt there. Maybe. I don't even know. I don't even care anymore. Roman is just damaged goods. A heel turn is much needed for him, but of course they're not going to do it because they're stubborn. And this just comes on a show that was not good. This was not a good show. I talked about this show. This video is going on way longer than I wanted to, but this is what happens when you have a bad show. I was hoping, this could be a nice, simple review talking about, a bunch of really good matches on a pretty simple show. But, of course, it could not be. Like I said, if you lasted this long and you like this show, kudos to you. I wish I could be like you. To the people, to the shut up and enjoy it people, kiss my ass, because that's just not how I operate. I want to like this show. I want to support the WWE, and I will call them out when they give me crap. And you can't say I'm overly negative because I praise the hell out of Miz and Seth Rollins because they deserved it. They had the best match of the night. So far, one of the best matches of the year. Just like Seth Rollins and Finn Balor had on Raw. Just like all three guys had at WrestleMania, So I'm not overly negative for the sake of being overly negative. I'm just saying, this was a bad show. Aside from the opening match, this show sucked. It was probably the worst pay-per-view of the year. Hopefully it is the worst pay-per-view of the year. I would hate to see a show worse than this. But yeah. Next is Money in the Bank. May God have mercy on our souls for that show. So, until then, goodbye.